So clearly, we are in a time of transition. There is a lot happening in the world, and over the past year and a half, I've been traveling. I left the United States in July of 2024, and I'm in Malaysia right now. I've been on a spiritual journey of healing and reclaiming my soul. I went through a lot of trauma as a kid. I was sexually trafficked in my room, mostly in my room, but also within government, the state of Michigan Capitol building in East Lansing, and within branches of the military as well in the United States. And so over this time that I've been traveling, I've been encouraged by Spirit to start writing what, my path, my story, what's led me to where I'm at right now, and to help inspire people who have been through deep trauma and are coming out of it, or need the motivation to come out of it, because it's a tough road. It is the most challenging thing I've ever done. There's been a lot, but this is coming out of it. Coming out of what the trauma creates is so challenging, because we get convinced that we are the sum of our parts, the sum of our experiences, that we are this identity, and that's not the case at all. Before my awakening, which preceded my travels by almost 10 years, is that right? Not quite, a little less. I didn't know what a spiritual awakening was, and I thought that kind of stuff was really woo-woo. I didn't believe in any of that. So things happen that change your mind, and I've gone through a number of them, and I've expanded my awareness of so many things, and what we're doing here is incredible during this time, because while people have individual spiritual awakenings, this is a spiritual awakening on a global scale. And we're realizing that, just like with our individual identities, that not being the whole truth, our reality, what we have been presented, has not been the whole truth. And so we're coming into a time of awakening about that. But I mean, on so many levels, which we don't really need to go into. We all know what's happening. And it needs to happen, because that's how we transition from where we are to where we need to be. And that is a very tricky step. Many steps, actually, one step after another. So the name of my book is Medicine for the New Earth. And basically, on a spiritual level, if this is all new to you, probably most of you it's not, that are catching this video, but just in case, we're transitioning from a third-dimensional reality matrix into a five-dimensional reality, meaning our normal, what we consider our senses, our sight, taste, hearing, touch, those kinds of things, smell, will expand into feeling into and sensing into other dimensional realities. You may hear your spirit guides. You may see beings. I've had smells, in meditation, I've smelled strawberries before, and something else I can't remember. But so there's a lot for a spiritual transition, individually, that's also being mirrored globally. So that being the case, why that happens is because the frequency needs to evolve. And so things are in a collapse state, as we see so frequently every day, which is traumatic. And then we're moving into a rebirth state of who we really are. And this is the interesting part about a spiritual awakening, is that before mine, I would have not believed in that concept. I thought I was this person. I'm from Michigan. I lived on a dirt road. There was cornfields, that kind of stuff. And what's actually true is that I would not have believed this before my awakening. I would have thought something like this being said was nuts. But now I know it's true. So you have to evolve with what you receive, because we are more than what we think we are. And now I remember being here on this planet multiple times, but also planning the incarnation process that got me here from a craft. So, and that craft now I know is in the Galactic Federation of Light. And I'm sure people incarnate from multiple crafts, but this is just one part of a spiritual awakening. Like, we're not from here. We're not this limited human that we believe ourselves to be. So if this is resonating with you, that's awesome. Also, my story, like my human walk here when I was younger, it included a lot of trauma, as I mentioned. And so if you're somebody going through that, you might find some motivation in my book, which is linked in this link tree. It's free right now, so check it out. But also in there are images that I created through AI that depict the craft that I incarnated here from. So if you want to see if that resonates, if it triggers some memory or something, that's all in there. So check that out for sure. And follow along, because I'm going to start talking about my time being trafficked, so people are more aware of what that looks like and how you can come out of it. But also the dynamic within the state building that I was trafficked within, and within the federal military when I was trafficked there. So, and it's so ironic, because when I began recalling, I didn't remember even being trafficked until I was 37. That's when the memory started returning. And somebody said a sentence to me, and it just triggered everything to start coming back. So repressed memories are a big part of this. And going in and working through receiving them, like putting yourself in that situation, like you get one little nugget of memory, and then you can kind of pull up more and work through them and like expand what the situation was. And that's how I regained all the memory that I have in this book now. Well, not all of it. Some of it I was able to request records, strangely, from my grade school, which is crazy because it was like so long ago. But there was records of me not being able to see for many years in school. Like I was legally blind. The adoptive parent I was with put chemicals in my eyes as a child, and so I retained the records from there and started remembering more trauma. But this isn't like a victim story. This is no matter what you've been through, it's for a reason, and it can serve you, and it can serve others. And I want to make sure that this experience that I've had here fulfills that service, because I walked this path in my pre-life planning. I picked this path to help illuminate some of the things that we are now seeing on a large scale here, moving our consciousness from the shadow aspects of not really understanding what's happening, but knowing that something's off, into moving all of that energy into the light. And that's how we transmute it, by talking about it, by owning it, by sharing it, by being the example of how we can move through this together. Because even though this is about one person's individual journey, this is happening to all of us on a collective scale. We're all experiencing trauma, and it affects each one of us, regardless if we want to. I mean, it's hard not to own it now, but this has been happening. It's been ongoing for quite some time, in more subtle ways before, of course, but not so subtle as well. But still, so basically, when I was 37, I came out of an amnesia of sorts. Like, I started remembering that I was trafficked for a decade of my childhood. And so for 37 years, I had blocked that out completely. And I had a near-death experience. And then following that near-death experience, I began producing math and physics, which I now know I worked on prior to incarnating here on my craft. And I have that here as a gift for us. I'll put a little image here, maybe some up here, of some of that. But my website, cosmicporch.com, has also some images on it. But in the book, go to the book instead, because my website is hacked. It's safe, but it's hacked. It doesn't need any of your personal information. But lots of, there's a gift in this from Source and from our off-world family. And I'm so excited to share it.